Every morning, the same story begins again. You open your eyes, reach for your phone, and before your feet even touch the ground, you're already someone you used to be. Your mind starts playing the same old thoughts. You think about the messages you didn't reply to, the problems waiting for you, the bills you need to pay, the mistakes you made, the people who hurt you. And right there, before the day even begins, you step back into the past. You see, every thought you repeat connects to a memory linked to an emotion. And that emotion, whether it's stress, anger, guilt, or fear, pulls you back into the same old identity you've been living for years. The moment you feel those familiar emotions, your body remembers exactly who you were yesterday. You get out of bed the same way. You brush your teeth, make your coffee, scroll through the same apps, think the same thoughts, feel the same feelings, and you call it a normal day. But what if it's not normal? What if it's just programmed? You are not living your life, you are repeating it. You've become a walking reflection of your past experiences, reacting the same way to the same triggers over and over again. And the scariest part, you call it personality, but your old identity is not who you are, it's a memory. It's a collection of reactions, fears, and beliefs that you've rehearsed so many times that it feels real. Your mind keeps replaying it because it's familiar, and your body obeys because it's addicted to familiarity. That's why every time you try to change, it feels uncomfortable. Your brain says, "Let's grow," but your body whispers, "No, let's stay where it's safe." So you return to old habits, old emotions, and the old self, not because it's right, but because it's known. Every morning you're given two choices: wake up as who you were, or rise as who you could be. The difference lies in awareness. When you start observing your thoughts instead of obeying them, you begin to see the illusion that the person you think you are is just a story you've been telling yourself. The truth is, your old identity was never you. It was built by repetition, shaped by memories, opinions, pain, and fear. But underneath all that, there's a self that's been waiting to emerge, a self untouched by the past, a self that's not defined by what happened, but by what's possible. So the next time you wake up and feel that familiar pull of yesterday, stop, take a breath, and remind yourself, I am not my memories. I am the creator of my future, because the illusion of who you think you are ends the moment you decide to become something greater. Chapter 2. The Prison of Familiar Feelings. You can tell yourself, I'll change 1,000 times. But if your body doesn't believe you, nothing truly changes, because long before your mind wakes up, your body remembers. It remembers what anger feels like, what disappointment feels like, what failure feels like. Those feelings are not just emotions, they're chemical records of your past, stored deep within your cells. Each emotion is like a message bottled in time. When something reminds you of the past, a tone of voice, a smell, a look, the body opens that bottle and releases the same chemistry all over again. Suddenly you're not living this morning, you're reliving an old wound. This is how identity hardens, not only through the stories you tell yourself, but through the feelings your body refuses to stop reliving. Think of it this way, your body has learned your story so well that it can play it without your permission. It knows exactly how much tension to hold in your shoulders, how much doubt to carry in your chest, how much sadness to store behind your smile. And when you decide to change, when you say, I'm done being that person, your body resists. It's not trying to sabotage you, it's just scared. Because the unknown feels like death to the body that's addicted to familiar emotions. That's why growth feels uncomfortable. You're not fighting your environment, you're fighting your own chemistry. You may have noticed this before. Every time you try to feel confident, guilt creeps in. When you feel hope, worry follows. When joy appears, something inside whispers, don't get too excited, it never lasts. That whisper is your emotional past asking for attention. It's your body saying, come back to what we know. But if you always answer that call, you never evolve. Awareness is the first crack in the prison wall. When you can pause in the middle of an emotion, just stop, breathe, and feel it without reacting, you begin rewiring the connection between your body and your mind. You teach the body something revolutionary. We are safe even without our old pain. This is the work of transformation, not forcing yourself to feel positive, but gently teaching your body that new emotions can also mean safety. So when fear rises, don't run. When sadness appears, don't drown in it. Notice it, name it. Let it pass, because every emotion you observe without acting on it loses power over you. And in that moment, for the first time, you're no longer a prisoner of the past. Chapter 3. Breaking the emotional loop. The hardest part about change isn't knowing what to do. It's breaking free from what you've always felt. Because the truth is, you can't think your way into a new life while your body still lives in the old one. That's why most people relapse into the same emotions, the same reactions, the same patterns. Not because they're weak, but because their mind and body are still speaking different languages. Your mind says, let's grow, but your body whispers, let's survive. And survival always wins until you learn to teach your body that growth is safe. So how do you break this emotional loop? It begins the moment you stop running from your feelings and start observing them. Awareness is the doorway to transformation. The second you notice your anger rising, your fear tightening your chest, your sadness pulling you down, and you simply breathe instead of react, you interrupt the loop. That breath, that pause, is not small, it's rebellion. You're refusing to let your past run today's show. When you do this often enough, something magical happens. The body begins to trust you again. It starts to realize, maybe I don't need to feel this way to be safe. Maybe we can let this go. You see, breaking the emotional loop is not about suppressing emotions. It's about retraining your body to live in a new emotional state. One that's not built from pain, but from peace. Let's make this practical. When an old emotion shows up, don't label it as bad. See it as energy, old energy trying to leave your system. Sit still for a moment. Breathe deeply. Feel the tension without naming it. You'll notice it comes in waves, but every time you breathe through the wave without reacting, it weakens. The mind learns that it doesn't have to fight the feeling. The body learns that it doesn't have to fear calmness. This is the quiet miracle of change, repetition of new awareness until the old pattern loses control. Chapter 4. Reprogramming your identity through action. Now that you've begun freeing yourself from the old emotional loop, the question becomes, who are you choosing to become? Because freedom without direction can still lead you back to your past. To reprogram your identity, you must teach both your mind and your body what new truly feels like through consistent conscious action. Here's the truth. Your mind learns through knowledge, but your body learns through experience. You can't just tell yourself you're confident. You must act confident, speak confidently, move as if it's already true. You can't just say, I'm worthy. You must show your body what worthiness feels like, by saying no when you mean no, by standing tall when you feel small, by following through on the promises you make to yourself. Every action you take is a vote for the new identity you're building. Think about this. Every time you repeat an old pattern, you cast a vote for your past. Every time you choose differently, even once, you cast a vote for your future. That's how identity shifts. Not through massive leaps, but through small, deliberate, embodied choices that slowly teach your nervous system. This is who we are now. So, how do you start? You start with one change, not 10. One behavior that aligns with the person you want to become. Maybe it's waking up earlier. Maybe it's journaling instead of scrolling. Maybe it's speaking kindly to yourself in the mirror instead of criticizing what you see. Do it every day, not perfectly, but consistently. Because the body doesn't trust words, it trusts patterns. When your actions begin to match your vision, the body starts to relax into your new reality. And here's something powerful. You don't have to feel ready to act differently. Action comes first, feelings follow. When you start doing the things your future self would do, even when your emotions say otherwise, you're rewiring your subconscious blueprint. You're literally proving to your mind and body that the old identity no longer controls you. At first, your brain will resist. It'll whisper, this isn't you. But every time you take action anyway, you're teaching it that yes, this is you now. Identity is not found, it's built. And the blueprint is drawn through action repeated in alignment with your new story. Soon, what once felt unnatural becomes effortless. What once required discipline becomes automatic. That's when you know your transformation has taken root. Because you're no longer forcing change, you're living it. And that's the moment your old self finally dies. Not through struggle, but through replacement. So remember this. Every decision today is either a reflection of who you were or a rehearsal of who you're becoming. Choose wisely, choose boldly, and let your actions speak the new language of your identity. Chapter 5. The Power of Present Moment Awareness. Every transformation begins here in the present moment, because this is the only place where change can truly happen. Think about it. The past only lives in your memory. The future only exists in your imagination. Yet most people spend their entire lives trapped between the two, haunted by what was, and anxious about what might be. They're everywhere except here. And when you live outside the present, you're living out of alignment with your power. Your old identity survives because it feeds on repetition, on the constant recycling of past emotions, thoughts, and reactions. But the moment you become fully aware, when you pause, breathe, and truly observe yourself, the illusion breaks. That's the magic of awareness. When you observe your thoughts instead of automatically believing them, you create distance between who you were and who you are becoming. Pause right now, just for a second. Notice your breathing. Notice the space around you, that silence you feel, that awareness, that's you. Not your thoughts, not your story, not your pain, but you. Most people think awakening happens through some big dramatic event. But awakening happens quietly, the moment you notice your mind wandering and gently bring it back to now. That simple act is you reclaiming control from your subconscious. See, when you're present, you're no longer reacting, you're choosing. And choice is where power lives. When you catch yourself repeating an old emotional pattern, anger, doubt, fear, and instead of acting on it, you simply observe it, something incredible happens. The energy loses its grip on you, because you are no longer feeding it with attention. Every time you bring your focus back to the present moment, you're cutting off the fuel source that keeps your old identity alive. You're literally starving it out of existence. The mind will try to pull you back. It always does. It will whisper, "You should have done this." What if that happens? But the present moment has no should or what if. It only asks one question: who are you right now? When you start living with that question in your awareness, your entire energy shifts. You'll find that the more you practice presence, the more peaceful you become, not because life got easier, but because you stopped resisting what is. You're no longer chained to yesterday's emotions or tomorrow's fears. In the present, there is no past self to destroy, because it simply doesn't exist here. This is where true transformation happens, not in thought, but in stillness. Not in motion, but in awareness. So every morning, before the world begins, take a moment to sit in silence. Feel your breath. Watch your thoughts pass like clouds, and remind yourself, right now is the only place my power lives. Stay there in that awareness, and watch as your old identity fades into memory, while your new one rises with the sun. Chapter 6. Emotional Rehearsal. Becoming your future self. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine the person you want to become, not just what they look like, but how they feel. How do they walk into a room? How do they think when challenges appear? What energy do they carry when they speak? Now here's the truth. The secret to becoming that person is not waiting for the world to change first. It's feeling like that person right now. This is what emotional rehearsal means, teaching your mind and body how the future feels before it happens. You see, most people live in a loop of cause and effect. They wait for success to feel confident. They wait for love to feel worthy. They wait for healing to feel whole. But that's the old model, the model of waiting. The new model is creation. It says, feel it first, and the reality will follow. Your brain doesn't know the difference between a real experience and one vividly imagined with emotion. When you close your eyes and feel abundance, gratitude, peace, or joy, you are literally rewiring your brain to believe that future already exists. You're installing the software for a new identity. Think about that. You don't need to wait for proof. You become the proof. So every morning, instead of waking up and remembering who you were, wake up and rehearse who you're becoming. Sit quietly, breathe deeply, and imagine your day as that new self. Picture yourself handling challenges calmly. See yourself speaking with confidence. Feel yourself attracting opportunities that match your energy. And don't just think it, feel it in your body. Because when you align your emotions with your vision, the body begins to believe that the future has already arrived. That's how transformation begins, not through wishing, but through embodiment. The hardest part is consistency. Your old self will resist. It will whisper, "This isn't real." But remember, the old self is built on repetition, and so is the new one. The more you practice feeling like your future self, the more natural it becomes. The brain starts firing in new patterns. The body. The body starts producing new chemistry, and before long, the world around you begins to shift in reflection of your new state of being. You're no longer reacting to life, you're creating it. You've gone from waiting for a miracle to becoming one. So ask yourself right now, if your future self could speak to you, what would they say? They wouldn't say, keep waiting. They'd say, feel it now, live it now, be it now, because your future is not coming from somewhere else, it's coming from within you. And every time you close your eyes and emotionally rehearse that future, you are drawing it closer into the present moment, until one day, it's no longer a vision. It's who you've become. Take a deep breath. You've just traveled through the layers of your old self, the thoughts, the emotions, the patterns that once defined who you thought you were. And now, here you are, lighter, more aware, ready to begin again. Listen carefully, because this is the part most people miss. Transformation doesn't happen overnight. It happens every morning you wake up and choose differently. Every time you catch yourself thinking like your old self and instead breathe, pause, and decide to think like the person you're becoming, that's transformation in motion. You don't have to destroy your old identity in one blow. You dissolve it through awareness, through love, through discipline, one choice at a time. So tomorrow, when you open your eyes, before you check your phone, before you remember your problems, remember this moment. You are not your past. You are not your pain. You are not your failures, your fears, or the story your mind keeps replaying. You are the awareness that can rewrite it all. And that awareness, that quiet observer inside you, is your power. Every morning, step into it. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't wait for everything to make sense. Start now, because your new life won't appear when you're ready.